Pablo, the result today, what does this show? Are you comfortable with the progress, or does it expose that more work needs to be done before in 2 weeks when we start the season?
Yeah, obviously a lot more work needs to be done. And again, I think the result is like I told the guys before the game, this is about process-oriented performances, and only through processes and details do you get the result. You're not going to get the result just because you say let's win this game against any team, right? So where we made progress, I would say it's still up in the balance. Again, when you bring in, the three guys up front dictate everything we do from a pressing perspective. And at times, I thought it was good, but for a lot of the game, I didn't think it was good enough. And again, a lot of that has to do with fitness. And so, Vic, like I said earlier, Victor's got probably 30 good minutes in him. Morgan showed he's got 45 minutes in him, and I'd say Diego's probably got like 45 to 55 good minutes in him. And that's just not going to be good enough to go up against an MLS team at the moment, where we want to be an aggressive team defensively. Because again, if the guys up front don't make the play predictable, everyone behind them are kind of left in the lurch. So that part needs to get better. Decisions in and around our build. Like I said earlier, we've conceded 4 goals with the first team in preseason. 3 of them we've literally kicked in our own net. I don't know if you saw. I don't know if the game was televised today, but it's 3 of those same goals. And so defensively, I think we're making progress. But when you give up goals like that, it seems to overshadow the work that's being done. So that part needs to get better. And again, just understanding the moments when we can play and understand the moments when where they're pressing us really well, and we have to find second line and third line options. So yeah, there's a ton of work to be done, and I think the biggest, and I alluded to this last time, that midweek, the biggest thing for me, the biggest struggle is going to be integrating these guys at all different levels of fitness and availability. So in preparing for Vancouver, I can't tell you if five or six of the guys are going to be available for this game. And so that is the most difficult thing, and you want at the end of preseason to have a really clear perspective as these guys are our starting 11. And I'm going to say 5 of those guys are question marks. We don't know if they're going to be available. And then the other part is making sure we continue to build fitness in these guys, to be able to play the way that we want to play.
You talked about the defense. What about the offense? That was a struggle last year, not coming close to the goals the previous
Mhm.
year, no Chicho. How are you feeling about the goal scoring process? Are the goals going to come? Where are they coming from?
Yeah, again, I think with a fit Victor, I think we're going to get some really good attacking actions. I think what Morgan showed today was some really, really good stuff. Finding the pocket, combining with Gozo, and I felt like in the first 45, our right side was really strong. I think where we struggled was on the left side, and again, I think a lot of that has to do with Diego getting up to speed. He's got to get fitter, and again, it's a really important time for him. But I think our left side was devoid of any kind of real threat, and so and again, I think that's going to be the sharpness and the fitness levels of our players are capable of scoring a lot of goals. Those players in the front line are capable of scoring a lot of goals. However, if you're not fit and you're not sharp, then it doesn't matter, who they are. You've got to be able to, like I said earlier, the body uses the same, the muscles use the same sources as the brains, and so fitness is about being able to clear lactate quick enough to make the next dynamic action, to make the next good decision on the ball. And so it just goes to show that we're a little ways away from that. But I do believe that we have a team that can score goals when everyone's fit and everyone's available.
You've mentioned Daniel a couple times in post games and during this preseason. Was there something that was going on that made it so he wasn't fit, or is he just working through fitness?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think he had I think
No
that
injury or something?
yeah, I mean, he was dealing with a little bit of a bug. He wasn't getting, he didn't have the best run up into this preseason, that's for sure. And so, again, if we're going to be successful as a group, Diego Luna has to be our guy, right? Morgan has to be our guy. Victor has to be our guy. Gozo has to be our guy if we're going to score goals. And so, I still think Luna's a good 3 or 4 weeks away from being max match fit the way that we expect him to play. I think Victor's the same way. I think he's 3 or 4 weeks away. I think Gilavogi's 2 or 3 weeks away. And again, Gozo is a 90-minute player. And so, I think that's going to be the biggest struggle for our group in our attacking group, because the quality, there's no doubt we have it. However, the quality isn't good enough. You have to be able to run. You have to be able to have more than one dynamic action to break teams down. And so I think that was our biggest struggle today. It wasn't, it was for as much as the guys were in the good spots. It's when, okay, you're in a good spot, now what? And that's when you got to see dynamic action. So again, I think this game just shows that where we're at from a physical perspective, a fitness perspective, and we got to improve that one more than that area more than anything else. And I think once we do that, we have more than enough quality on this team to be you know, a, a real threat in the Western Conference.
Then a question about some players. Ruiz came out at 22nd minute. Is that the precaution or was that planned? I
No,
know.
he pulled himself out because he said he felt his calf go. So I haven't met with the medical department yet. But when a player does that, chances are it's not going to be a short-term thing. So he basically ran off the field, and that's what we had to make a quick sub.
And how's the Mecca coming along? You figured that out yet? What's
I think he's going to be, in my estimates, talking to the medical staff, he's a good 6 weeks away. And so again, I think that's the biggest, like I said earlier, in all my the availability and the fitness of our players will be the biggest question mark going into the season. And when, Emeka's making progress, but he's not even running yet, right? And so now you think about, we'll have completed a 6-week preseason. And for me, it's the most important time of the year. It's the most. It's where you gain concepts. It's where you build your base fitness. It's where you build relationships. And so, in the situation that we're currently in, Emeka's probably, that's why I say 6 weeks away. He's not even running yet, but his knee is feeling better, and that's a positive. But when we're talking about competing in the early stages of the season, I don't anticipate he'll be involved.
last question from me. Where are you most comfortable at? Is the front line uh, closer to where it needs to be, the midfield, the defense? I mean, we know Cabral's probably rock solid, but where are you most comfortable?
Yeah, I think really if you're asking me which phase, I'd say the defensive phase. I feel like we're in a great way with that. And the biggest thing that always takes the longest, Brand, is always the attacking. And again, it's not so much because um, the quality isn't there. We have the quality, but now it's also with that quality, how do they get to build relationships with each other? I think when you go back to 2024 and the relationship that Chicho had with Andreas, that was special. I think what I saw today was the relationship that Gozo had with Morgan was special. Like there's some really good understanding, and I think teams will really be really queuing defensively on our right side, given the speed, the pace, and the quality that we have on that side. So now it's really about how do we activate the weak side to be just as dominant. And again, I think we need a little bit more from the wingback position to be a threat. And I think it'll all come together. I think the biggest issue we're up against is time, right? Because we need a lot of guys available. We need fitness from a lot of guys, and we're a little up against it. But I have no doubt that we have the caliber of player that can be a real threat in the Western Conference once those things sync up.
Thank you.